Welcome to Chasing Justice. This week, our Lent theme is tears. Now, here's a secret that I'm going to share with all of you guys. My eyeliner is actually tattooed on. So my only tattoo I have is this eyeliner. And the reason I had to put it on there was because as I was leading worship, as I was preaching, I would find myself just having black makeup all over my face. Because the scriptures and the truth of God would move me to tears, because the circumstances that I found myself in or that I saw my community in would move me to tears, because a moment in congregational singing with people who had the same passion as I did would move me to tears. So I found myself just with a lot of black on my face, and I figured it was just easier to tattoo the eyeliner on. So some of us may feel this comfortable with crying. Others of us may not feel as comfortable with tears. Maybe we were told that it was a form of weakness or that you never let people see you cry. But I want to invite you this week into not only the idea of tears, but the practice of tears. Jeremiah, who's one of my favorite prophets, actually brought God's heart into the room, not only with his words, but with his weeping. And I just pray that we would be like weeping prophets who invite tears that cleanse and bring healing to our broken world. There's something that happens when you find yourself at a breaking point that words can no longer describe. And if you've had that good, ugly cry, you know what I'm talking about, where afterwards you feel lighter, you feel cleansed, you feel released from something. Jeremiah 9:1 says, "Oh, that my head were a spring of water and my eyes a fountain of tears. I would weep day and night for the slain of my people." And so the tears aren't necessarily always for us. Sometimes they're for what we see happening in the world. There have been moments in the last couple of months where I have felt so overwhelmed by what is happening in my community, by what is happening at our border, by what is happening in our schools, by what is happening in Gaza and other places, in Congo, in Haiti. I have ended up kind of in a pool of my tears asking, how long, God? And why? And what's the silence about? And so this week I want to invite us to consider what tears might do for our spirituality, to consider what tears might do for developing solidarity with others, for considering what tears might do to move us to action. This is the prayer for the week. May God bless us with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that we may reach out our hand to comfort them and one another and turn their pain to joy. When I was at a staff meeting one time with a group of Latino staff, I remember we were just in tears at what was happening in our community, in our families, even in our own lives as people in ministry that found it really hard to be in the places where God was sending us. And we cried and we wept together and we cried some more. And at the end of all that crying, we found ourselves like, just crying and going like this and laugh. Then we began to laugh at the fact that we were all waving our hands in front of our eyes, probably trying to dry our eyeliner. And we realized that tears don't always end with sadness. Sometimes tears end with relief. So I want to continue to invite you to practice this in your own spaces. Would you consider praying for specific people and places that occupy space in your mind and in your heart? And commit to one way to become more tangibly generous and involved, not only with our tears, but in action, in generosity, in solidarity, and with our resources. That's kind of the takeaway this week. How can we take our connection with other people's pain and move it into action so that they could be no longer in pain, but flourishing. And allow our tears to move us into this kind of action. Maybe buy, invest, or spend with the most vulnerable in mind. So the question is, where might your tears lead you to invest and to participate to relieve the tears of others?